Evening, everyone. Welcome to another exciting edition of the Woodstock Planning and Zoning Commission for Thursday, January 18th, 2024 at 7:30 p.m. I'll go through the roll call. Starting here with you this week, Mr. Palulik.
No Palulik.
Aaron Fargo. Jeffrey Marcotte.
Good luck.
Dean Gould. Joseph Adeletta.
Mark Blackmore, Tim Young,
Wayne Blanowitz. John Day noted he could not be with us tonight. Porter is not with us tonight. And here's that David Morris currently is not with us either. So we need a couple of alternates. I only have one. So wait, would you like to be an alternate this evening? Yes. All right, we'll seat Dwight Reinwich for the alternates, and that leads us to the Pledge of Allegiance. We all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Kind of on the spot tonight because we got former distinguished chairman of the commission here speaking. My chair's report is pretty short. I'd like to thank the public participating in this important part of our town's business. I'd like to thank the commissioners and staff, Amy, Cameron, Delia, people upstairs. I failed to note how many days there are until spring, but the days are getting longer, so it's a good thing. Brings us to citizens' comments. Are there any citizens' comments not pertaining to anything that's on the agenda tonight? Like to recognize First Selectman Jay Swan.
Since the former distinguished chair of planning and zoning is here, I'd like him to come forward.
How come when I was here, I was never called distinguished?
Chris Senator, it's another photo op.
I never do.
I guess somebody should take
Yeah. I would like to present Jeff with this plaque on behalf of the Planning and Zoning Commission and its members, and also on behalf of the town of Woodstock. It's an award of appreciation presented to Senator Dr. Jeffrey Gordon in grateful appreciation of your years of dedicated service and your support of our community. Woodstock Planning and Zoning Commission, 2007 to 2023. So I'd like to present this to you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. You want to say a few words?
I'll say a quick word. Since I'm the center, I'm supposed to go on for hours and hours, but you have had years of hearing from me, so I'll keep this real quick. Thank you very much. The 16 years, including the 15 years that I was chair here, went by unbelievably fast. I enjoyed working with all of you, and I include all the former commissioners over the years who I've had the opportunity to work with, all the former staff as well, who I've had the opportunity to work with. And I've always thought it was a great honor, one of the highlights of what I was able to do, to work with you all, but also, as you all know, work for the people of Woodstock who you represent. So I very much enjoyed all those years and all that work. And even though it was bittersweet when my 16 years ended, I get to continue to work for the people of this town. I'm happy to do that in my new capacity. And I'm glad that the commission is in good hands with all of you, and certainly you're onto bigger and better chairs. with Jeff Markov, so, but thank you very much, I appreciate it, thank you.
Like to note for the record, that David Morse joined us at 7:35. Sorry, Dwight.
No problem, Mr. Chairman.
You have to unsee you. You can still see that. Are there any other citizens' comments not pertaining to anything that's on the agenda? Hearing none, we have some meeting minutes to discuss and approve.
Make a motion to accept the December 7th, 2023 minutes as presented.
Second. The January 4th.
Again, that, you want.
Okay.
to
Well,
do that
we'll do one at a time then. Motion on the table to approve the December 7th by Joe Adaletta, seconded by, I think, by Dean Gould.
Yep.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That so passes. Getting close to those steak knives, Amy. What is the will of the commission for Thursday, January 4th, 2024?
Second.
Motion by David Moore, seconded by Dean Gould. Tim Young, sorry. Motion by David Moore, seconded by Tim Young. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That so passes, thank you. I'd like to discuss tonight the budget for fiscal year 2024-2025. And you need to add that to the agenda, so we can add that somewhere now, if someone would like to make a motion to do that. And some,
Would that not be budget review?
yeah, we can go with that, with budget review of bills, never mind. I knew. No, it's not like that. Yeah, I said, never mind. No, it's really not. All right, never mind. 30 minutes. Still got 2 minutes. You know, less than a minute to open the public hearing. Right, I have 7:45, like a public hearing. SP 660-1023 Woodstock Sustainable Farm, Ken Rappaport. 211 Pulver Rock Road, this is a continuation of public hearing from January 4th and November 16th. I will open it up to the applicant or the applicant's representative. I would ask that you limit it to any new discussion that you may have for us this evening.
I hope to do that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the record. Norm Tebow, Killingly Engineering Associates. I'm a licensed professional engineer, and I am here representing Woodstock Sustainable Farm and Ken Rappaport this evening. I handed in some materials. I sent them to Delia last week. I'm pretty sure that she distributed them to the commission. And I really just kind of want to go over those materials that I submitted. First of all, regarding the statement of use and the proposal for this facility. And as a result of the previous presentation and concerns that were raised by the commission and the public, Mr. Rappaport has made some, which I feel are some pretty significant reductions in what he's proposing to do out there on an annual basis. First of all, the regenerative farm tours, which would be April to November. There'd be school and university tours. I think as we discussed previously, these are the types of things that we don't really feel are, necessarily a special permit type use, and he certainly would like to do that. 15 to 48 students arriving on a school bus, box lunch meals, optional. So he would like to keep that option on the table. But I think the big thing that we've talked about as far as the events, Mr. Rappaport is proposing no more than 10 events annually with a maximum attendance of 50 persons. Music for these events would be acoustic, low-level background music, recorded music, for instance, would eliminate, the potential of having a DJ there or a live rock band or anything that would produce these loud noises. There was some discussion about the noise at the last meeting, with the potential for a loud DJ or a live rock band to produce decibel levels in excess of 100 decibels. And after the discussion with that, and when taking a second look at that, we do feel as though it would be difficult to meet the state mandated sound levels at the property lines, especially after hours with bands of that type. So after discussion with Mr. Rappaport, we decided that just like I said, acoustic music, low-level background music would be a more appropriate approach for these types of events. This proposal significantly reduces the amount of events and attendees to these events, completely eliminates open house barbecues, eliminates glamping and stargazing and things like that initially were discussed as having, in excess of 200 people potentially. That is no longer on the table. So I think one of the biggest issues that came up time and time again, especially by the public, is the amount of traffic on Pulpit Rock Road and the type of traffic this would generate. So utilizing the trip generation put out by the Institute of Traffic Engineers, and what trip generation is. It's a series of catalogs, and they number different uses. They have single family uses, shopping malls, hotels, fast food restaurants, things of that nature. And all these uses are categorized and numbered in the trip generation manual. These are based on actual studies that were conducted throughout the United States. Many of these, especially the single family home studies, there are well in excess of 1,000 different studies that were done on these. And what they do is they generate numbers for the number of trips per day per household, Also, a factor that you can utilize to calculate the peak trips. Typically, the peaks are somewhere between 7 and 9 in the morning, 4 to 6 in the afternoon. And utilizing the Institute of Traffic Engineers information. What we did is we estimated daily peak trips along Pulpit Rock Road, at least that section of Pulpit Rock Road. So based upon my review of the assessor's mapping and the town's GIS, I counted 32 residences along Pulpit Rock Road that we utilized for the study. But I assume that half of them were going in each direction. So I took the number of 16 to determine what the peak morning and evening hourly rates would be. So the use categorized number for single family homes is use number 210. I did provide a lot the documentations and the excerpts from that manual with my submission. And it does, but I will say the ITE trip generation guide does not include a land use category for wedding venues or any kind of functions or things of that nature. It is therefore desirable to establish a standard methodology to produce the trip generation rates and the trip distribution assumptions. A wedding is a single event at a pre-established time, or whether it be a wedding or any other kind of event. Therefore, the trip generation will typically be based on the attendance at the venue and used for the ceremony. In this particular case, it was 50 attendees. The wedding party and vendors represent additional numbers above and beyond those attending the wedding. They typically arrive an hour or more before the ceremony and in limousines, catering vehicles, etc. These attendees will add to the total number of vehicles, but not to the peak hourly rate. The guests will arrive during the 1 hour period before the ceremony. Many of the wedding guests travel as couples, families, or groups with their friends with an average of 2 to 2.5 guests per vehicle. We conservatively utilize the 2 people per vehicle in our summation, which would result in a peak hour of 25 vehicles for a maximum event of 50 people. So how does that compare to what happens on Pulpit Rock Road on a daily basis? For single family units, single family homes, the ITE trip generation uses an average rate of 9.57 trips per day per dwelling on a weekday, which is approximately 5 trips each way. So if someone leaves their home and then comes back, that's actually considered 2 trips, not 1 trip. So for the 16 residences, this translates to 153 trips per day. The average trips per day is slightly greater on Saturday, with a factor of 10.09 trips per dwelling, which would mean 161 trips per day. And Sunday trips are slightly less, 8.7 trips per day per dwelling, or 140 trips per day on a Sunday. It also provides factors for peak traffic generation. The AM peak hour typically occurs between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. and the peak PM hour is between 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. The AM peak hour utilizes a factor of 0.75. So I would take that 16 households, 16 residences, multiply that times 0.75, which calculates to a peak hour of 12 trips in the morning. The afternoon factor is slightly higher, 1.01, which would produce an evening peak trip of 16 vehicles during the peak hour. And like I said, that peak hour would occur between 4 and 6 sometime. It might be 4:30 to 5:30, it might be between 5 and 6, but somewhere in that 2-hour period, you would have the peak trips. The peak hour on weekends is not specifically defined, but for Saturdays, the peak hour factor of 0.94 would translate to 15 vehicles per hour. And for Sundays, a peak factor of 0.86 is 14 vehicles per hour. So to summarize, for weekend events of 50 persons, we could expect a peak hour to be 20 to 25 trips in lieu of anywhere from 12 to 16 during the weekday or any given time due to the residences. So it would be slightly higher as a result of any kind of event that were held at the facility. I did go out to Pulpit Rock Road the day after we had a 4-inch rainstorm, and which fell on some snow, so there was significant melt. The road certainly was wet and had a couple of areas that were a little bit soupy. I measured the narrowest point at 2 different spots was 13 feet wide. And that was due to the fact because the shoulders were actually flowing at that time, so they really weren't traversable. In front of Woodstock Sustainable Farms, the Pulpit Rock Road is 16 feet wide at that point. And the entrance to Woodstock Sustainable Farms, the apron there is 40 feet wide, which would allow for safe passage of a larger vehicle like a bus, and certainly passenger cars as well. So the bottom line is, yes, there would be some increases in the peak amount of trips, which would really kind of coincide with the total amount of trips as well, saying that we have 50 people at these particular events. In my opinion, based upon the speed at which people travel on that road, that day when I was out there taking measurements, three cars did come by, and they were traveling, relatively slowly. And I was actually pulled off to the side of the road on one side. One of them actually passed me, so I know there was opportunity for cars to pass each other, whether they be coming at you or if someone needed to pass you for some reason or another. There's the areas that were narrow had significant sight line both directions. So if you were approaching one of these narrow points and there was a car coming up, either you or the car coming out, you certainly has the opportunity to pull over to allow safe passage for 2 vehicles going either way. So, per your regulations, special permit decisions for Article 5, Section L. No special permit shall be approved of modifications and conditions, or denied until the commission has evaluated the proposed use or activity relative to the criteria as they may apply. So there are a number of bulleted items that are listed right in this section of the regulations. I just would like to kind of go through them one by one. Number 1, it is in compliance with the zoning regulations of the town of Woodstock. Since this is a use that would be permitted by special permit, I would submit for the record that it does comply with the zoning regulations of the town of Woodstock. Number 2 is consistent with the plan of conservation and development and the plan of open space and conservation. Now, this was, I found this pretty interesting because there are 2 sections within the plan of conservation and development. There are recommended policies and action steps in the plan of conservation development include number 1, give farmers regulatory flexibility that would allow them to develop creative and diverse means to generate the extra income that will keep their farms in business. Allowing some types of other for-profit ventures to operate simultaneously with the farm would help do that. This is exactly what we're here in front of you for. And I believe this really speaks to that section of the plan of conservation and development. Secondly, plan for future agritourism, such as events of limited duration on the farm. Once again, and there's that term agritourism, which is directly right in your regulations. Additionally, under the section of balancing growth and change with change and development, it is stated that a developing industry is agritourism, where people come to farms to see how plant foods, meat, and milk are produced and to buy these products from the source. I think Ken has really kind of spoken to death throughout the duration of this special permit. I think it's pretty significant that these things are actually contained within your plan of conservation and development as something that is the town wants to strive for. Number 4, it will excuse me, It will generate minimal off-site adverse impacts on the surrounding area, including, but not limited to, adverse impacts on the environment, the character of the area, including any natural, historical, and cultural features. We do not feel the limited events proposed will result in adverse impacts to the surrounding area. No construction is proposed that would generate runoff or pollution. And natural, historical, or cultural features will not be altered or impacted. I would add to that, sort of off the cuff here too, with regard to the lighting, because I did provide a detail for the type of lighting that would be used here. These would be low-level, solar-powered ground lights, no higher than about 24 inches, sort of mushroom tops. These are 3-watt bulbs, or 3-watt lights. They're going to be used simply to provide safe passage of any patrons that may visit the farm and have an event after hours. They do not project upward at all. They will not impact the dark sky in the town of Woodstock or in the area of Pulpit Rock Road. That light that Delia just had up there. Number 5, it will neither adversely impact ground or surface waters nor endanger drinking water supplies. The existing farm operation does not adversely impact surface water or drinking water supplies. The proposed activities will not change that condition. Number 6, shall have the approval of appropriate agencies such as NDDH, WPCA, DPH, and DEEP for sewage disposal and water service. The on-site septic system for the residents was designed and approved and installed in accordance with the health code requirements. Any events will utilize portable sanitary facilities, and the existing system will not be overwhelmed. Number 7, it does not adversely impact traffic conditions, including finding the streets serving the proposed use or activity adequate to carry any additional traffic generated by the use or activity, and that no traffic safety problem will cause or significantly be aggravated by the use or activity. I did go through that the traffic report that I prepared for this commission. Utilizing the documentation from the Institute of Traffic Engineers. I think it's important to note that travel to the property for any event will not be during peak morning hours or peak evening hours for the residences that reside on Pulpit Rock Road. And as previously stated, the Woodstock Sustainable Farm website will provide preferred directions. Event organizers will be given literature stating the same, and a constable will be provided to direct vehicles accordingly. Pulpit Rock Road, as we all know, is a town designated scenic road, and there's really no opportunity to make any changes to that road, widen it, provide pull-offs. I know it's something that people don't want to see there. It was something that Ken and I discussed early on, but based upon my conversations with Delia and in listening to the public as well, I just don't think that would be something that would really fly as far as the town goes. In my opinion, 25 cars over the course of an hour is not significant traffic. You're talking a car in every about 2.5 minutes or so. And you may have 3 or 4 cars in a row, and then 5 minutes before nothing, and then maybe a couple of cars. So it's certainly not any kind of it's not going to cause any traffic jams or any significant obstructions on the road or anything of that nature. I do believe that Pulpit Rock Road, being as narrow as it is, and being as windy and curvy as it is, in itself, the construction of the road really does kind of obligate the drivers to drive slowly on the road, and the fact that there are opportunities along that 11 to 1,200 feet before the paved surface to pass safely. I think Pulpit Rock Road is sufficient to support that traffic. It will provide unhindered emergency vehicle access. It is now what it is now. Nothing that we're doing for this particular activity is going to hinder emergency vehicle access. If there are bad weather conditions and an emergency vehicle can't get there now, that's not going, this activity is not going to change anything. I will say that The condition that I observed on the road a couple of weeks ago, right after we had that rain event, is certainly not going to happen in the summertime because you don't have snow. You don't have the snow melt and the frozen ground starting to thaw and things of that nature. I think, the day that I went out there was probably one of the worst conditions that you would see out there. Number 9, it will not adversely impact health, safety, or welfare. And we don't believe that public health, safety, or welfare would be adversely impacted by 10 events annually or travel to the site by a single school bus. Number 10, it will meet the following standards as applicable: adequate landscape and buffering treatments. There is significant elevation change and vegetated buffers all along the property lines along the property. Stormwater management really isn't applicable here. Erosion and sedimentation control really isn't applicable here. Lighting, we did talk about the lighting, very low impact lighting, ground level, just for safety of pedestrian access throughout the site. Signage, I think we discussed that at the last meeting as well. Signage for the event, we may have some temporary signs similar to like election signs or so forth to point people in the right direction. But no permanent signage is proposed other than the sign that's currently there, which is introducing the people to Woodstock Sustainable Farms at the driveway entrance. Floodplain is not applicable here, and we do not have any dimensional restrictions either. So, all that being said, I think I tried to keep it as concise as I could. Mr. Rappaport is here. I think he'd like to say a couple of words, and then we'll certainly take any questions that the commission or the public may have.
Thank you. Rapport.
I got to apologize for me looking, just fix it. Thank you.
Like to ask you to limit it to anything that you have not already stated for the commission.
Well, absolutely.
Please, thank you.
Yeah, no, I just want to thank everybody. I take it into, I heard all the comments. I think, Ron has been helpful for me to look at and try to balance of what we need to do as a farm in terms of what we talked about in the past. That's why we reduced it now down to 10, still planning for 8 charity events. 2 may end up being charity events as well. So a little misnomer maybe on a wedding, but I think in terms of what we're going for, it's how it's been classified as events. And other than that, we were sort of excited. I think we just became the first Connecticut small certified by the state of Connecticut for our egg processing facility. We just got certified today for another year for so for whatever pasture raised chicken control food. So we're excited about these as well, things that we can help educate the kids and the other people about. But other than that, I appreciate your time.
Thank you. We'll answer the commission. Any comments or questions from Commissioner Joe?
I'll just have a quick comment about the presentation and one, I certainly appreciate the rather drastic changes in the current proposal over the original proposal. To me, it sounds like been listening to what the public had to say about their concerns. I think there's still residual concerns, including my own on the road, but with far fewer events. And the fact that, at least in one of the documents I read, that the applicant was willing to consider a 1-year trial period, that's helpful. I want to comment about agritourism, and clearly that is an important aspect for farms in our area to determine and find different revenue streams. I think it's important, like any real estate agent will say, it's location, location, location. And I'm not quite sure this is the best location for trying to increase a lot of traffic and events that bring the public into the site. I'd also like to comment on the fact that the regenerative farm tours are repeated as being, not necessarily necessary for a, special permit application, but I think it's important to keep them in mind because, that's just additional traffic that I think the commission and the public needs to keep in mind when adding to, the events that would be considered, needing special permit. So I'm not clear that they don't need a special permit, but I think keeping them on the radar lets us know that there's, upwards of 15 and 25 or so type events taking place at the site. So those are just a couple of comments I had for right now. Get started.
Thank you, Joe. Anyone else? I'm sorry.
Just a couple comments. I guess, and a couple questions for the applicant. Do you have like a cutoff for the hours that you're gonna do these events? Are you gonna have a hard cutoff at like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, or is this open-ended till whenever the event's finished? I'm just curious, or would you be willing to, let us put a restriction in of you gotta stop your events at this time at night? Is that acceptable?
I think that, I guess my preference would be that we don't do that at this point, simply, we did get a request from the last Green Valley. To hold an event to where they could actually stargaze, which would then, it's in summertime, particularly, it doesn't get dark till 9 o'clock. And stars, one of the reasons for having, it, appreciate the comments about the location maybe not being the deal, but in some ways, this used to be what was called Racetrack Hill, Gin Acre, where a lot of kids used to go up to parties for it. This is a period of time, and just a phenomenal skyline. So in some ways, the Last Green Valley would like to have out there with the city and watching stars till 11 or even 12 o'clock at night. It's not a place where you have music and quietly, that's what. But to enjoy that, it's sharing that, just shared by people well before. So preference.
Understand. And then, just one other question. So you want to have the 10 events with a maximum of 50 persons, which makes sense. And you said most of those are going to be charity events, but there may be weddings. It sounds like there may not be any weddings. Would you be willing to take those off the table and just do charity events for like the first year to see how things go?
Well, I've got 2 openings right now. We've got anticipated. The reason I think again we dropped it because these charity events get back to doing that. So the longer it gets delayed, the more it become possible. And again, this is an important year for what we're doing. To promote the farm, which is really what we're doing. This is education. We also sell product needs and on this website. So it's that, I guess I think an event, I think in terms of, it's nice to have if there's income that comes in, and weddings tend to have, it can be small, I mean, it doesn't have to be necessarily a big wedding. So I hate to say with wedding, because then I want to play by the rules of where you play 20 people. I think that it would be push ahead. So I'd like to say, I feel like at events, 50 people, it's gonna, the type of event gets kind of tricky to say. Or we have to exclude a wedding, if someone wants to get married there, and I think part of it is they believe in what our mission is and the gender function, and I'd like to get them down. They're be overwhelmed with some of the function under the revelers. It's not in keeping with what we're trying to mission. I think I apologize for drawing on it, but it's important. It's I'm really coming back and moving back here and done this attention. Good weather conditions. Yeah, preference. I guess that's some flexibility.
Yeah, understood. Thank you. I just think that some people, you know, who live in the area are concerned when they hear weddings. I think it brings some feelings in that maybe more, you know, when you say you're just gonna have like an event for 50 people and you just have, you know, a charity event, that doesn't sound as bad as, hey, I'm having a wedding, people party and whatnot. And I know that might not be what it is. It's probably gonna be smaller weddings and it's acoustic music. It probably won't be as big an impact. It's just, I think it's just the connotation that comes with when people hear weddings. They get it in their head that it's gonna be a loud event.
I understand, I think starting, I've been here starting in 2000, after my wife died, we used to have first Friday parties up there. We had 150 people, of which a lot of our neighbors came and seemed to enjoy it, and no one ever seemed to complain. Pretty much during the day, and sometimes in the evening, people brought their own alcohol. It wasn't something that I provided. We brought ribs and stuff. We used to have bands out here. One time we dropped a grand piano and we played actually piano and sang. It was people sat out and almost like Berkshire. It was nice. No one ever, I don't think we've ever had any complaints. I did at the time for my own, you know, peace of mind. I think it was First Selectman Swan at the time was the constable, he was the first selectman. He used to sit down by the end of Taylor Road, so I just didn't have to worry about somebody getting hurt or killing me. At that point, it wasn't a great point. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Aaron, you bring up a good point about the weddings, but actually I was thinking the opposite. It might benefit the commission, the neighbors, to allow these limited weddings as kind of a test case, or federally speaking, use Mr. Rappaport as kind of a guinea pig. See how the weddings go. I think there's an increased popularity in these types of events statewide or here in Woodstock. And I think the more we can learn from a simple controlled situation like this, the better we can address future wedding venues. Okay, Mr. Tebow, since
Yes,
here, I just want to kind of check in this, the traffic report. Thanks very much for doing that. So for guests coming in from Mean Road, turning towards Mr. Rappaport's, first, I believe you said approximately quarter of a mile, maybe even less, 2/10 of a mile is paved. Pavement ends.
Correct.
And then it's the other approximately 2/10 of a mile of Mr. Rappaport's driveway.
Right.
So I was just trying to wrap my head around these figures. So that 2/10 of a mile is less than a quarter of a mile. And we all probably know if we walk or run, or maybe we used to run, that's one lap around the high school track.
Correct.
That's all we're talking about as far as the unpaved section of road that may be a little narrow, might occasionally be a little bit wet, that people might be concerned about.
Exactly.
Think of the speed. If you take that same track, put out your high school track athlete, tell him to run as fast as he can, he's gonna run around that track in 1 minute.
Right.
Roughly. That translates into 15 miles per hour, which is coincidentally the speed limit on that section of road. So we're really talking about less than 1 lap around the track and a high school kid running as fast as he can as the speed of these vehicles.
That's a good analogy, and I agree with you.
Okay, thank you. Last figure I just wanted to get in perspective is in your report, you talk about for the existing 16 residences, this translates into 153 trips per day.
Correct.
Well, that's every day that those residents use that road. So if you multiply that by 365 days a year, you're at about 56,000 trips per year versus Mr. Rappaport's 400 to 600 trips per year. 40 to 60 per event, 10 events per year is 400 to 600. That's 1/100th of the regular traffic going up and down that road on an annual basis.
Yeah.
Or perhaps a 1% increase.
Right. I think it was important that I tried to compare it. Obviously, if you look at it in that perspective, it's very small. But you're gonna have those concentrations on certain days when you've got the extra 25 to 30 vehicles and so forth. So I think it's important to look at the peak hour and the peak daily to see, the increases that might occur for an event. So, so an event, if you have an extra 50 trips compared to, 160 or something on that particular day, you would have a 33% increase. Which would be the worst case scenario. So you can look at it both ways. The big picture, as you, stated here, absolutely, very, very, very small in the big picture.
Last point I'd like to make now is, I was came on the commission around the tail end of the post subdivision. That was west of Mr. Rappaport's property, and hearings involved in that. And there were some statements made about the applicant and maybe not being consistent with prior statements about that proposed subdivision. But I think what Mr. Rappaport's proposed is consistent with what he said when I was on the commission previously about that subdivision. Because the applicant's avoiding that section of Pulpit Rock Road that was the most hazardous section, the steepest, one of the narrowest, then funneled across that bridge, both of which are being avoided. It's avoiding the steep slopes of the property. There's be no additional clearing on Mr. Rappaport's property for this proposal. And he's avoiding any impacts to the stream and wetlands and wildlife that was all highlighted in that previous post.
Right.
All of which are null at this point, I believe.
And I mean, and I know I stated before, but I really think that, Ken has made some pretty significant concessions here. And, and he is willing to, I think he's shown a willingness to work with the commission and listen to the public and take their concerns to heart. And, proceed in a manner that, would help him get his foot up, on the ground here and, and get things moving. And, and if in the future he felt as though he wanted to have more events or some bigger events, then certainly he's got the opportunity to come back to this commission, and say, well, look, I've been doing this now for a couple of years and I've had no issues at all. I'd like to, add a couple more events, or I'd like to have a few more people at an event. And at that time, and, it could be reevaluated at that point. But I think, this is certainly a good starting point to, allow Mr. Rappaport, to do something that he feels is important, and in a manner that doesn't have any significant impacts to the neighbors in the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Jim Young?
Just a question about the traffic report. So your traffic report mainly focuses on the people who live out there.
That's correct.
So there's no impact on the high school kids that are using the eastbound, westbound lanes of this road to do a quick shortcut to the academy.
Yeah, well, we can only utilize, the information that we have, without
Okay, so I'm just
actually going out and
wanted to
doing,
make it clear that
putting
this
traffic
is
counters out there and so forth.
Okay.
But, I utilize the tools that I had at my hands.
Yeah.
To do this.
I just wanted to comment to Aaron and maybe remind the applicant that on one of their narratives, they were talking about all music ceasing by 11 p.m. So that's already in the applicant's mind that could be a hard stop or something, sound generation. Doesn't necessarily mean the event has to stop, but assuming stargazers are not playing music, but doesn't mean the event has to stop. And just one other comment about the traffic, and I know you were using the directions based on Main Road up to Pulpit Rock. And I did last time, public hearing, I tried to get directions to Woodstock Sustainable Farms on Google Maps. And the directions take me from 171 along Pulpit Rock.
Yes.
169 rather, 169.
Yes, they do.
So although the presentation showed printed or written directions on how to get to it for guests, my suspicion is people would use the navigation system in their car or on their phone as opposed to directly. That's all I'm saying. It's not impacting the
It's-
traffic study, but it
Right.
was your study was based on Meeting Road to sustain.
That is correct, yes, sir.
Just make a comment that I've been in touch with.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but when you speak
Oh,
up,
Oh, sure. Yeah, I said I was in touch with Senator Jeff Gordon's office, spoke with Jeff, and he and his pathway are gonna be working with the state DOT. They've already looking at that corner for like very many years about putting up a sign, simple sign that says no left-hand turn when you're going on 171 eastbound, which would prohibit people from turning there and eliminate that. I think
Thank you. Anything else from commissioners? Okay, open it up to the public. I'd like to first open it to anyone that hasn't previously spoke at the previous two public hearings. And I'm gonna have a time limit of 4 minutes for people that have not spoken tonight, so. Is there anyone who'd like to speak that has not already spoken? Yes, welcome. Could you state your name for the record?
having these meetings, my name is Donna Nielsen. I live on Meehan Road in Woodstock. And, we were at the previous two meetings. And I just wanted to, may I approach?
Sure.
We printed something up on Mr. Rappaport's website, where he's already telling people to book their weddings to Florida. And he's directing them to go down Meehan Road. Nobody that lives on Pulpit Rock Road that's here, or that lives on Meehan Road, there was no sign on Meehan Road about the meeting. So I think there are very few people here from Meehan represented.
Well, first state statute, the voters only need to be notified,
Okay.
but there have been at previous meetings.
Yeah.
Very few people from the. My second.
He has stated several times how he likes to do things by the book, but he's already taken, saying, book your wedding now, farm to table. He doesn't have any, I'm having a brain.
I think what she's trying to say is, well, I'm, no.
Permits, I'm sorry, permits to
She
have
has the
farm
floor.
to table and to.
Nielsen?
And I'm sure. But to continue, the people that live on Pulpit Rock Road, 80% of them, I'm working from home now. They don't use Pulpit Rock Road. They're already using Meehan Road. And it would be a significant amount of traffic increase on Meehan. I didn't move here from Massachusetts 12 years ago for Woodstock to be an epicenter of agritourism. I moved here because it was quiet, it was peaceful, the way most of the people are probably here. I just think this seems like some sort of scheme to hunt his little sprockets or hubs or whatever he's calling, but I just wanted to make that, and thank you.
Thank you for coming. Is there anyone else that hasn't spoken before that would like to speak? Yes. Welcome, thank you for coming.
I probably have lived here longer than anyone else in this room. I've been on Pulpit Rock Road for 52 years. We moved here, it was nothing but us and Bob Joy and the orchard. It was serene, it was private, it was just lovely. Since then, there have been some changes. Brewery across the road, we weren't able to do anything about that. It was going to be, a development up the road, and then had a big hand in putting that to rest. As this lady said, we came here for the serenity, the integrity, just a beautiful neighborhood. And to have businesses come in to do, that's just the beginning. What Ken wants to do is just the beginning. And it really isn't right. I wonder if any one of you in the board live on a road like ours, and how would you feel if those businesses, no matter how long road. Quite a few houses have come in after us, but we're private, we're quiet, and I, for one, do not want to hear music coming down at 9 o'clock, not even at 8 o'clock at night, and we will all hear it from the road. We will. It's an invasion. It's a, when we came here, you could think up to your hubcap, that's how bad the road was. It's, and we loved it. It's just an invasion, and it shouldn't happen. It's one of the few places left in Woodstock, and its integrity.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that has not spoken? All right, I'll open it up to anyone that has spoken before, but I will ask that you only reference something that you haven't already referenced. And we'll limit that to 2 minutes. If there's someone else that would like to speak.
My name is Peter Chris, yeah, to me and Road.
Thank you.
Thank you for the 2 minutes, although we've been here for a couple hours on each occasion. But
Mr. Christo. I asked at the last meeting that we didn't point fingers and arms and.
I know, but I
Okay,
have,
let
I
me
have
ask-
children.
I have the floor now.
I have-
I have the floor.
Okay,
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
You watch TV?
I watch TV.
You a sports fan?
No,
What is it that you watch on your TV?
I don't think that's applicable. I really don't. I don't see where that's gonna get us. We're here for this.
What is it you watch on your TV?
We've taken quite a bit of time.
If I came to your house with my fellow commissioner members,
I wouldn't like.
if I came here, if I came to your house with my commission members, you invited me in. And you were watching the 6 o'clock news, and I went over and took your remote, changed the TV. That would be an invasion. This is our meeting,
I understand.
okay? So if you want to speak, play by the rules. Don't.
We're not.
Play by the rules.
I'm playing by
Thank
the rules. All I'm asking is that he has gone on for an hour and a half, yes, last week, and the week before 2 hours, and he was unbridled. And now you're giving us a restriction of 2 minutes. An hour and a
You
half.
already wasted a couple
I
of.
have recorded. 2 hours he spent on the first meeting, an hour and a half.
You don't have to point fingers. I'm pointing fingers
Well,
now.
okay, Mr.
What is your point?
The point is this. You have a paper there that shows what Mr. Rappaport's been doing. It's not just weddings. He's also having farm to table dinners for Lord knows how many people. He's running that as a business. Then you have it on the copy of his website that's there. He's advertising for the weddings right now in anticipation of you approving him. He doesn't even care about really what the people think. He's already done it. He's had a road crew up there working on his driveway all summer long to enlarge it and to make it applicable to what he's gonna be doing. He's had a film crew up there filming and doing a commercial for it. He's been on TV on Channel 5, espousing it. He's also doing from his, aside from his hearth to dinner for what, 12 to 18 people, I believe. He's also doing corporate events. Is he allowed to do corporate events? I'm asking you right now. He's hosting corporate events. He's been hosting for the past 5 or 6 years, from what I understand on his website. He doesn't have any approval from NECOG, not NECOG, I'm sorry, the Health Bureau for serving hot food or anything like that. He has a bed and breakfast license, which just gives him the right to give cold food and cereal, continental breakfast. He's doing harvest dinners for 12 to 18 people. He's been doing it for years. He's entertained groups from New York and corporate executive retreat. That's great. He wants to do that, find a better place to do it. He's coming by and ruining our neighborhood. And for what purpose? For his sole purpose.
Is there anything new? Because I've heard you say this before.
I didn't say this before,
Yes,
but I
you
just
did.
found out about it last night.
Okay, well, I've heard you say he's ruining our neighborhood.
No, no,
He
I'm
could do
talking
somewhere
about,
else.
I'm
I
talking
heard you say that.
I'm asking you, is these businesses that he's doing now acceptable? Are
I
they?
do not know. We will look into it. Thank you for bringing it to our
Okay.
attention. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Yes,
Hi there, Norma Jean Lofton.
Norma,
Rock Road.
thank-
I know I
thank
have
you for
2
coming.
minutes. I have 2 minutes. I just wanted to say a couple of things. I feel like the traffic study that was brought up and some of that published information is very interesting. But I don't think you can draw the conclusion that it's applicable because of the substrate of our road. It is not a typical road that's paved, so I think we really need to keep that in mind. The other point I'd like to make is with regard to averages and people that travel back and forth from their house. I don't know if that can be considered as well. I know that many of the folks on the road are retired, or like myself, I do work from my home. So I'm not in and out often at all. So I would question some of those statistics. I also think it's important that the commission not confuse this particular request for a special permit with really some of the general statements that are made in the plan for conservation and development, because I think every permit has to be evaluated specifically on its merits, right? I think it's important that the town has a vision, and I applaud us for having those visions, but I don't think that that broad vision should be used as the basis for what's very specific here. I would also like to remind you, and it has been said before, but I have a real tough time connecting weddings to agritourism. People go to weddings for a very specific purpose. They're not going to see, you know, lambs birthing or how pigs are fed or anything else that can happen related to farming. I think it's important that you not forget that that really is really stretching a line.
Well,
and I'm
I'd
already-
just like to rebut it really quick. That's why he's seeking permit for the wedding, because they're just not agritourism, so that's why he is seeking the permit, so. Is that the question? And go
No,
on,
it wasn't so much a question, it's,
the statement, but
I wish to also quickly just say that, I do have great respect for the engineer who spoke on Mr. Rappaport's behalf, but I do think that when it comes to environmental impacts, that just a general engineer really should have data based on scientific data that can be gathered. I know I've challenged you in the past to take a walk on Purple Rock Road. The weather has been horrendous. I wouldn't call you not wanting to go. In fact, it's not safe right now at all. But I do believe that that would benefit the people sitting here to do so. There's just no way to experience it. You have to walk it. And I'm telling you, if you're on that road, you're not necessarily going to feel very safe. I brought this up before. I walk the road regularly.
thank
People
you,
do not drive 15 miles an hour. I can't say that strongly enough. Thank you very much.
thank you. Anyone else who would like to speak that has? Yes,
God happens to 8 7 Rock, right?
thank you.
What is my time limit?
2 minutes, and this is something that you haven't already spoken about?
Well, there's a lot that I haven't spoken about. I'm not quite sure where to begin now.
Tell me what it is you want to speak about there. Is there some new information that you're gonna bring to us?
I want to speak about a variety of things. I want to say, I mean, my wife, Niederford, spoke at the previous meeting. And a lot of what she said made me wonder if the Commission for Conservation had commented on this application. She noted that she and I, along with others on the road, worked very hard to prevent, as you know, the development of the road. And we contributed a significant amount of money to put the land, which exists between our home and the applicant's home, in conservation. We did not do that in order to make the applicant's property a more attractive venue site. I'm quite disturbed that the land commission didn't think that this is in conflict with their mission. Which I think it is, and I think much of what Mr. Rappaport has done since that land was put in conservation is not consistent with the land commission mission. The reduction in number of events is well. If it's a here. The reduction in number of people attending those events is well. If it's a the absence of any meaningful enforcement of any of these constraints that put on this application is deeply troubling, because when we worked with Mr. Rappaport, who was vital and essential to preventing that development some years ago. We found ourselves subsequently in a difficult position. And I frankly would not go into any business dealings with the applicant in the future. I think that my primary concern is that if this application is approved, I don't think there are any constraints. As you've already been given everything, the applicant is already advertised as if you have given them approval. I think that should indicate to you why I'm concerned about the issue of importance. I'm concerned about this is a treasure. I'm very skeptical of the figures you've been given about traffic. I work from home days at a time. I don't leave that. There's very little traffic on that road as it stands. And the percentage of increase that would be a consequence of the approval of this application is considerably greater than what we've been told. And it would include quite substantial increase in the number of trucks and to deliver, whatever, porta potties and so on. The noise, if there is no amplified music, that's a great. I think we would still hear noise, you'll hear sounds from these events. We're less than 40 miles away. As the crow flies, for less than a third, less than much less than 40 miles. We're disturbed by noise in the Woodstock Fair, which is well over 3 miles. We would be disturbed by anything. But I think the primary concern is for the road, which is, as I said, it's better and if anything that increases traffic. I mean, that road is hard to maintain, very hard, and cost. And anything that increases traffic on the road, it's also hazardous, as you know. I mean, it's not anything that increases traffic on that road is not welcome and should not be approved.
Thank you.
I have my opinion.
We've had more than that, so
Well, thank you.
I'm gonna give Mr. Christo a couple more minutes now because
Thank
I
you.
cut him short.
And thank you for the work.
Mr. Christo, if you'd like a couple more, you don't want to open that Pandora's box. No, I'm done. I will say, however, that the noise, and I haven't addressed the noise. I'm right down the road and I'm about, I would say 3/4 of a mile from the property, maybe a little bit more. I got 35 acres of open farmland. It was a previous cow farm, a dairy. I can see his lights burning when he has his outdoor fires and stargazing. I can hear them talking. It comes down the road. I can hear them from his place up there when he's having his stargazing and his bonfires. I can hear them talk. I can hear it. I can hear his dog. I can hear it all come down the hill. It hits the swamp and it echoes everywhere. And that's the only other thing. But the biggest thing I said is, and as far as the woman's concerned, it's one track length around the thing. We're talking about cars. We're not talking about a high school boy running around a track. We're talking about 75, 100, 125 cars coming and going, trucks coming and going, and using a road that is impassable. I had to help people get out of there that got thrown off the road. You know, I had to use somebody's tractor and help pull them out. I know what goes on there. And anyone who doesn't live there is fooling themselves to think that they can handle this kind of traffic. All I have to say. Thank you. Is anyone else?
I just wanted to address someone who'd asked whether the Conservation Commission was notified. I notified them on October 24th, along with the highway foreman, the fire marshal, the agricultural commission. I've always notified them, just so you know. And, I did write a memo to review this, and I wanted to go over that. The things that haven't been covered already, some of the things I wrote about have already been covered. But, at the previous meeting, there were some concerns about limiting events. Someone had said that that can't be done for a wedding or some other kind of an event. Whenever someone wants to secure a location, that's part of the discussion. They have to figure out whether they can pay for that site or if that site's suitable for their event. So obviously, if they want to have a 1,000-person event, they're not going to come to a place that can only have 50 people. So that discussion, I'm sure, takes place between the person looking for the event location, the person who's in charge of it. And someone had concerns last time at the meeting about the serving of alcohol. It's common practice where alcohol servings are limited. That happens at restaurants and bars. I'm sure it happens at all the places that need to get alcohol licenses from the town hall every time there's an event. And I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but every time there's an event with a large party tent, they need to get a building permit. And if they're having caterers, they're serving alcohol, they need permits for those as well. So I'm sure there's always a limit for someone to serve alcohol. And, as far as agritourism, the zoning regulations don't have a definition about it, and neither does the state statutes. So I looked up the definition. Oh, so when our zoning regulations don't have a definition, it refers to a book called the Illustrated Book of Development Definitions and state statutes. So the definition of agritourism in that book, it says agricultural uses such as farms, ranches, and vineyards that through promotion and advertising facilities and activities seek to attract visitors, guests, and vacationers. And then because the state statutes don't have a definition, I looked up the definition from the National Agricultural Law Center. It says agritourism is a form of commercial enterprise that links agricultural production and or the processing with tourism to attract visitors onto a farm, ranch, or other agricultural business for the purposes of entertaining or educating the visitors while generating income for the farm, ranch, or business owner. And also, there's no requirement in zoning or anything else that requires there be a connection between two uses when there's a proposal for a mixed use on the property. So if he's proposing to have a farm use and an event facility, there's no requirement that those things have some sort of relationship.
Thank you, Jim. Anyone else would like to speak? It's a will of commission. Joe?
Move to close the public hearing.
You have one more comment.
Before you close the hearing, at the last meeting, Aaron Marble mentioned his qualifications in reference to sound. We need a copy of his resume for the record. We don't have one yet. So if you close the hearing, you should make I'm recommending that you note that that's required. So you've noted what information is. Yeah.
So I'll amend my motion to close the public hearing. But require that Aaron provide qualifications for these comments. That he made during public.
Who's second? Motion by Joe Adeletta, seconded by Tim Young, close public hearing with the expectation that Aaron Farlow is going to provide his resume for us to show his qualification. You're acoustical engineer and
Acoustical consultant.
acoustical consultant, so we will certainly get that in short order. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes, thank you. It's the agenda item. Six, no business. Permit SP 660-10-23, Woodstock Sustainable Farm Kenneth Rappaport, 211 Pulpit Rock Road, event and wedding facility, promoting agriculture. Open it up to the commission for discussion. And yeah,
At this time, do we have things all written out, or is it one aspect over here that will reduce it, then we would revert back to the original and then back to the, it's all been put on one proposal now, nice and neat.
I'll open it up to the applicant's representation to clarify that for us. The meeting that you presented tonight, that's where you want to run with. Yes, sir. Mr. Tebow, nothing you want to add to it or subtract, or you want to put the 11 o'clock number in there for the music?
I think that's reasonable.
Okay. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yeah, as long as it all gets put together, that's pretty,
Well, in order to get the discussion started, trying to balance a lot of input from the public, the significant change in the proposal from the original permit application to our limited application that's in front of us now. And principally to get the discussion going amongst the commission, I would make a motion to accept the special permit application with the following conditions. And a number of these conditions come from parts of the narrative the applicant provided. I just wanted to enumerate them to make sure that they get onto the record in addition to that. And that these conditions are, if you want me to go through them at this point. Yes, please, as part of the motion. Okay. The conditions would be that a 1-year trial permit period would start from the beginning of the date of approval. That's the first condition. The second one is that the regenerative farm tours and visits be scheduled from April to November. The tours and visits limited to no more than 48 persons per event. Third condition, that non-farm events scheduled from April to November be limited to 10 events during this time period. Attendance at each event limited to no more than 50 persons. Condition 4, music to end no later than 11 p.m. Condition 5, after the 1-year trial period, a review of the previous year's activities, including the regenerative farm tours and visits and the non-farm events, to be presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Review shall include number of events, number of persons per event, and number of vehicles per event. Condition 6, the event's food and drinks will be provided by professionally managed caterers, licensed and insured with tips certified servers. Condition 7, any required tents will be erected on a per event basis by a licensed contracting company after securing the proper town of Woodstock permits and inspections. Condition 8, a Woodstock constable will be hired at the start of events for 2 hours to monitor traffic at Taylor's Corner until state DOT posts no left-hand turns on Route 171. And condition 9, music, if used, to be acoustic music or low-level background. And again, many of these were conditions the applicant proposed, both in the original narrative and the new narrative.
Where are we gonna have the constables? Joe, 171,
Taylor's Corner, 171.
one constable, two constables.
I think one constable, that's one, I'll defer to constable
For 2 hours.
for 2 hours, one constable, 2 hours.
On that, I think it was 0.5, the annual review, that would be done by either the applicant and his, consultant, as opposed to town staff.
I think that's necessary, right? The
Yeah.
applicant should make provisions for making that report or review back to the commission.
It's on the applicant.
It's on the applicant
To
responsibility
That review will be to us.
to the commission, right? On the assumption that if we're going ahead with a one-year trial, we'd like to review what took place during what we issued, like took place, so the report should come to this commission. Or review.
What will that then entail? Public hearings?
That's a good question, and it might, well, it might, if it's, that's something we want to specify, I'm okay to specify that. Well, I think because it's a one-year trial period, maybe a modification to the special permit, that would require a public hearing anyway. But we could review it without a public hearing, perhaps make our decision that if we're satisfied with the information, could indicate that a renewal of the special permit would be considered modification to the special permit. And that modification process does require a public.
So even if we don't change anything on it, you want to keep it all the same, we were happy with what we did, but we still have to go through a modification again.
Correct, because we're, at least my condition is that it's a one-year trial.
Jeff, can we get Attorney Roberts to just kind of give that a thumbs up, or did you have any, okay, good. Yeah.
No, you're. Would be a modification of the special permit.
And we're within our purview to require this annual report, to view it before a public hearing, and then go to a public hearing again if the applicant wants to continue or expand.
I think the one thing that I would recommend is that you add some additional conditions, that all of the conditions are integral to the approval. So that you can't pick and choose which of them you might not like.
Condition number 10, all of these conditions are integral to the overall acceptance.
You have that all neatly written down.
Have it written down. The neat part, might
So on the front page, statement of use, description of purpose. Regenerative farm for April through November events. Staying the same, correct?
I missed the first part of it, but
Because these two items. I think they were item 2 and 3.
yes,
Okay, what was your first item?
first item was the one-year trial
Okay.
permit here.
11 PM curfew was number 4. I missed that. Curfew was number 4, Joe.
Music to end no later than 11 p.m.
Number 5, review of all events, number of events, number of cars, number of attendees. Okay. Joe, do you want to add that, vehicles will be directed to Meehan Road as well.
By what, I'm okay to do that, but by what, on the website,
Website, I don't think there's anything we can do to change Mr. Google. So, Celia?
The applicant had, responded to a memo I had written about that topic where he had said that he would provide that information
Yep.
to everyone who's either registered or invited to attend an event. So you can include that. So I'm not on the web, not just on the website, but if someone is having an event and they're sending out an invitation or someone has to register, they will be provided those. For
so condition 11 would be to provide directions using Meehan Road to guests coming to these events.
Yes.
So what was item 3?
April to November events.
Non-farm events scheduled from April to November to be limited to 10 events during this time period. Attendance at each event limited to no more than 50 persons.
Now, is that including guests only? Is that including guests and the people running, whatever, the caterer, bar, whatever? I don't know. if you
I
can
was
get
trying-
that specific.
Well, I was trying to read the narrative and understand the narrative, and my take from the narrative is that the 50 persons are the invited guests. They're catering staff, parking attendants, that's in addition.
You want to change person then to get, so it's a little clearer, or
That works for me. That would be on both of them.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess I'll further amend condition 2, which I didn't have time, the number of events, which was noted for the non-farm events to be no more than 10 during the April to November period. But the regenerative farm tours and visits, at least from an earlier presentation, suggested that there would be 24 50 student budget. So if acceptable, I would include that as an upper limit of the number of regenerative farm tours and visits to be no more than 24 from the April to November time period. And I welcome any additional comments from the commission for conditions that may have missed.
Anything about the lighting?
I didn't put anything in. The lighting is presented seemed pretty minor. Lighting's already used. With all of that said, I still have my own concerns about the traffic on Pulpit Rock Road. I think this 1-year trial period will give both residents of Pulpit Rock Road, the residents of Meehan Road, and the commission better sense of what really might take place, as opposed to estimations, speculation.
For the record, Joe, will you read it all for us, please? Thank you.
Okay. Conditions for special permit for Woodstock Sustainable Farms. Condition 1, a 1-year trial permit period beginning from the date of approval of the application. Condition 2, regenerative farm tours and visits to be scheduled from April to November. No more than 24 events and tours during this time period. No more than 48 guests per event. Condition 3, non-farm events scheduled from April to November. These events limited to 10 events during this time period. Attendance at each event limited to no more than 50 guests. Condition 4, music to end no later than 11 p.m. Condition 5, after the 1-year trial period, a review of the previous year's activities, including the regenerative farm tours and visits, and the non-farm events to be presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Review shall include number of events, number of persons per event, and number of vehicles per event. Condition 6. Events, food and drinks will be provided by professionally managed caterers, licensed and insured with tips certified servers. Condition 7, any required tents will be erected on a per event basis by a licensed contracting company after securing the proper town of Woodstock's permits and inspections. Condition 8, a Woodstock constable will be hired at the start of events for 2 hours to monitor traffic at Taylor's Corner until the state DOT posts no left-hand turns on Route 171. Condition 9, music is used to be acoustic music or low-level background. Condition 10, overall conditions are integral to the final approval of the permit. Condition 11, directions to guests to show Meehan Road as main route to the farm.
For a second. I'll second. Motion as described by Joe Avaletta. Thank you, Joe. Seconded by David Morris. Any discussion on the matter? Mark Blackman.
So the April to November events, does this mean that is the only time? There are no events outside of those months? Or are we only limiting?
The applicant has recommended those things. April to November.
Supposed to be only one. So they're not
That's what I'm assuming the applicant intends.
Through the chair. So I missed, did you mention the constable at Taylor's Corner? Okay, I missed. Thank you. You want to refine it, Mark, that there will be no events December through March, or?
Maybe we can cover that by putting in the item number 5, the review of the events shall include date of the events. As well as number of guests, number of events, number of persons.
Is the applicant the one that's going to keep track of that information?
Yes.
So a friendly amendment to item number 5. Steve, are you okay with that? I'm okay. Applicant's gonna keep track of. Yeah, will provide us proof of the dates of the events. Yeah.
So as a staff person, I have to write all this stuff up and I'll be getting it type from Amy, but I still have to write a whole bunch of stuff up. That goes in the decision letter, and that goes in the notice of special permit that gets filed on the land records. So the farm tours can have a maximum of 48 people, guests, humans. And the non-farm events can have 50 people, so there's a 2-person difference.
50, yes. I'm going by what the applicant noted. Trying to put here. Information.
I'm assuming the 48 came from the capacity of school buses, 48 people. That's good. 66 when I went to school. No standees. You were the short bus.
I think our prior chairman used to read into the record the 9 criteria. Okay, so we have to do that too.
Could I make a quick comment on? Absolutely. Item 4, the music to end no later than 11. I think that maybe we could cut that to be like Friday night, Saturday night, 11 o'clock, and then other nights a bit earlier. 11 o'clock seems late for like a break weeknight. Maybe 11 p.m. on Friday night, Saturday night, like 9 p.m. every other night. I don't know what everybody else thinks.
I think that sounds all right.
Okay.
On Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 11 o'clock, or Friday and Saturday?
Just Friday and Saturday.
All other days at 9
Yep.
p.m.
9 p.m. That's it.
So the friendly amendment to the amendment. It's music. Curfew at 11 on Friday and Saturday, 9 p.m. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll go through the special permit decisions criteria. Thank you, Peter. Once the commission has found that proposal use or activity meets all the following criteria, special permit shall be approved on or approved with modifications conditions. Item 1, it is in compliance with the zoning regulations of the town of Woodstock. And 2, it is consistent with the plan, conservation and development, and the plan of open space conservation. It is in compliance with the zoning regulations of the town of Woodstock. Do you agree?
Yep.
It is consistent with the plan of conservation and development and the plan of open space and conservation. You agree? It will generate minimal offsite adverse impacts on the surrounding area, including but not limited to adverse impacts on the environment, character of the area, including the natural, historical, cultural features, property values, and the reasonable use, enjoyment, and development of property. Do you agree? The new adversely affected ground or surface waters and endangered drinking water supplies. Do you agree?
Yep.
It shall have the approval of appropriate agencies such as the Northeast Department of Health, Woodstock Pollution Control Authority, TPH, DEP for sewer disposal and water service. Do we agree?
Yes.
It does not adversely impact existing traffic conditions, including finding that streets serving the proposed use or activity are adequate to carry any additional traffic generated by the use or activity, and that no traffic safety problem. Example, poor site line will be caused or significantly aggravated by the use or activity. We agree? It will provide unhindered emergency vehicle access. We agree. It will not adversely affect public health, safety, or welfare. We agree? It will meet the following standards as applicable: adequate landscaping and buffering treatment, stormwater management, erosion and sediment control, lighting, signage, floodplain, and prevention. Do we agree? And that covers criteria of the special permit. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That so passes. All abstained, Joe?
Did you hear Mark? Abstention.
One abstention. One abstention, Mark Blackwell. I'm sorry. I had my hearing aid turned off. It is very quiet. Business agenda item 7. New business. In the packet, there was some information about the home occupation permit we reviewed. I asked the questions to the CEO. And he stated that there wouldn't be any parking at all, but they didn't need park.
That's good, as long as you can cross something out on the application, and so future review will show that.
He did say the applicant was confused and what to say, and it is confusing, and we agreed to that, so we probably. Hopefully, when we get somebody permanently seated upstairs, we can do a more refined application and. Be easier to fill out and be. There were actually, everybody should have gone too.
I think Tracy said she was gonna copy it, so I didn't.
Sorry, Pat, one more right here. Sorry, here, yeah. Sorry, I got preoccupied doing something else. That's my pleasure.
Educate yourself. What you might have in front of you is the original agenda. There was a revised agenda and it's not in my packet, I don't know if you have it, but John Garlic was added to the revised agenda. And then this 202 Old Hall Road, I got my email today. That's not on the agenda. See up here on the screen, John Garlic was on the revised agenda. And they sent it out. It was Friday. So somehow it just didn't get to.
John Garlic looks okay so far, except for question number 1.
Now, right, this picture, parking the utility trailer. Then question 14, will service related vehicles be parked on the property? No. I really think we do have to reword these applications.
For number 7, it says they're using 10% or less of the finished work in the house, so maybe they're just confused again. Because that seems like the answer to one to be yes. But this is the form you guys wanted revised.
Well, that was on the original.
That's
the old-
correct.
Yeah.
I never had people having problems answering it correctly. The same form that I think you guys created in 1989 or 1992 when you created zoning. I'm still using the same form.
That was before the turn of the century. Actually, Garlic is the original one. Not the new one.
Yeah, you're right. I will, I'll just send an email to the CEO. Questioning both of those. Because either way you look at it, the Reno. Is the activity clearly incidental and, oh, I guess that makes.
But on that one with the, I want to say the questionable part is where it says that the activity is parking the utility trailer there. But number 14 says service related vehicles be parked on the property. That says no.
Maybe we shouldn't have questions that have like the same thing on different ends of the list.
Contradicts each other, yeah.
That's the question one. It's a lawn mowing business. So obviously he's not gonna mow the customer's lawn from his house. So he has his equipment and then he drives it over to the customer's house, mows the lawn and then comes back.
That's where the guy from the CEO can help. That's for sure.
And because the mailing address was different than the property location, I looked it up because home occupation, you have to live there. And, Mr. Evan Reno is building a new house at 202 Old Hall Road, and when it's done, he can move in, and then he'll move it. That's why it must be his parents, the owners of 147 Main Road, last name. So I'm thinking maybe it's his parents or some other relative. He's building a house that he would live in at 202.
Well, I think these are useful for us to review as we've asked to just review them. I think they're okay, once some of the questions are clarified, but they look like legitimate occupation. But we do need to make sure that the newer form is used at least consistently, so we can see what issues there are.
But the road, question one, the Garland application, Garland application, and get clarification, it seems like the answer should be yes.
And then the old form,
And number 14, Marino.
conflicts with his description, the proposed activity. Might be in the first one, correct? So it's. Oh, and it's good. What? Go like good. No, it's not. So we're just reviewing these tonight.
Anything else? Sent that over there to the CEO. Plan of conservation and development update. Do you want to discuss it? Go ahead.
So I handed out a memo, you should have it. You don't have it. I don't know exactly how in depth you want to get with your update. So it's hard for me to give you a number when I don't know exactly what you want to do. But Nico charges $70 an hour for professional planning services. And the actual contract would have to be discussed, negotiated between the first selectman and John Colfax, the executive director. So all I can provide is kind of an idea of what you might do. So, typically, an update involves holding public informational meetings, including where SWOT is done, that the strength, opportunities, weaknesses, and threats. Evaluation is done with attendees regarding the town, conducting an online survey, updating the town-related statistics and demographic information, updating the maps in the POCD, and if you wanted any new map, drafting updates to the text with input from the above past and sources of information. Once that's completed, and the commission reviews the draft text, and sometimes POCD committees want to have additional meetings where you go into further detail on different topics. For Woodstock, I'm thinking that might be agritourism, the future of agriculture, mixed use zones, affordable housing, economic development. There could be some other topics. So that might add meetings and hours to the update. And a town like Woodstock, depending on how much you want to do, it might be somewhere between 150 to 250 hours to complete it.
Oh, you said 150 to 200?
150 to 250 hours.
That falls within the budget that we have.
Well, it's $70 an hour, it might not.
Oh, 17,500. Yeah, $25,000. I saw it.
No,
Yeah, 13,000.
That's what you have in 2010 when they created it. No,
I know, so,
you don't have 25,000 now.
I know, but I thought there was a request, but.
No, it's added 2,000.
Which will get it, will still, it still get us to where you want to be though. there. I get ahead of myself. Any more-
Later on,
any more, any discussion on POC?
We're not deciding anything at the moment, right? Okay. Just getting it, where we are.
Deadline is approaching every meeting that we, it's one more month, we have less to review, so your deadline is 2025. You can typically towns request an extension from the state, but, you shouldn't do that forever. So whoever's, you're gonna have dated, you might well look into start that soon. Whether it's us or someone else.
We need to get some updates. So let's do agenda item 11, the CEO report. Permits and enforcement. We all see in our packet, the pending application. There we go. Any questions or comments on any of it?
I think this is before, but what does C stand for?
Probably certificate of zoning compliance.
Thank you.
So just for reference, when someone gets a zoning permit to build something, and then they want to be able to get their seal from the building official, the zoning officer has to go out to do an inspection to see that what was permitted on the zoning permit is what was built, they didn't do something else. When I was the CEO, sometimes I would go out and find someone who put a deck on, someone even was so proud of what they built, they wanted to show it to me, it included an apartment that wasn't on the permit, so I could not give them the certificate of zoning compliance. If they don't get that, the building, even if everything was built according to building code, the building official cannot give them the CO. And you can't move in if you don't have your CO, which is certificate of occupancy.
Anything else? Okay, moving on to budget and review bill agenda item 12. You could turn in. Bring it.
Good enough. That's about tonight.
You need to turn in, we need to turn in. Somehow. Starting, the budget, asking for an additional $6,000 to be added to the POCD. And I'm gonna ask for 10% on everything else over what we asked for last year. Everything is going up. Although it appears we haven't used much money yet this budget season, but we still got 5 months to go.
Can I ask you, is this in budget, this newsletter? Because I don't think we've seen this for a little while. Does it cost something?
Yes, it does. I don't handle the bills and stuff, so
Yeah.
when they mail it in, if you wanna subscribe to it. You have to fill out the form and send it in, and then they send you the note. New copy, and share it with everybody, but someone to give enough copies for everybody. But if the commission hasn't done that, if someone has to fill out the form, and I used to do it when I worked here, but I don't do that anymore.
Right.
Do you still get it, John?
No, I pulled out an old one.
Okay.
Because I just wanted to reference it, so somebody could see it, Connecticut Federation of Planning and Zoning Agencies quarterly newsletter. It's pretty helpful. So I don't know if that's something Tracy might be able to, track down and.
I will send her
With the
a message
message.
about it.
Okay.
She's fairly overwhelmed. 4 half days a week. Stress to the first selectman that need to find some money in the budget to find a couple, if not 3 people to work in that office full time to get us back up to speed. She, I had a lengthy conversation with her before Thanksgiving. She said, Jeff, I don't have time to make copies. Something amendment comes in, I have to make more copies and send them. So I just don't have time to do it. She wasn't being about it, she just didn't. Yeah. There are times when she does have time, but a lot of times evidently she doesn't have time, so. Did everybody correspond with her about your addresses as well? Not yet. Okay. Everybody that gets their packet in the mail.
I got mine in the mail.
I got mine in the mail.
I got mine, no problem.
So,
Mine was in the box, no problem.
mine too. So, everybody's good with the budget, submit that tomorrow. I would ask for more for the P O C D, but I think it would not even $6,000, but I can state my case that could be $17,000 or $18,000. That'll bring us to 19,500 something like that. It's 13,500.
Yeah.
Guess and raise this for us is out again this year.
Say what?
I said, I guess and that raises for us, is out again this year. You're pretty stubborn.
Yeah, they're gonna add another 0.
That's not what this was.
Well, Jeff, have you been thinking about how we're gonna advertise for who's gonna do the revision?
My thought was that go to bat for NECOG to do it for us. That's the indicated that. First selectman. John Pilchak are gonna have to.
Do we have an
Work out.
estimate from them or a ballpark or anything?
Get the memo?
Yeah, you had the numbers in there.
10,000 to 17,000.
Yeah.
250
Okay.
hours, $70 an hour.
And the amount of money you're proposing in the budget would cover that?
Get us up to $19,600, give or take, so.
Okay,
There was discussion at one point. There's just discussion, and that's only hearsay from Jeff Gordon. We discussed with the Board of Finance that if the P O C D were to get $10,000, they would discuss putting some more money into it. It was only discussion, and that was in 2018, so. 10-year plan at $2,000 a year for P O C D, I guess. The average, the 10 years, the $2,000 a year, I guess, is outlandish, so. But. I think for finance meeting. I guess we'll find out.
okay.
We won't probably know until we pass the budget, but. All right, unless somebody thinks we should put less or put more,
I think it's a good number.
I think it's good. It may be, softened by saying perhaps that $6,000 for the P O C D could be split over 2 years. I'm not gonna do it in 1 year. Right?
Yeah,
Right.
right. Yeah.
Adding 3,000 to the 13,000, that's a good way towards getting the P O C D work done.
Maybe Delia will do some work on the top.
Or the first selectman will negotiate a really good deal with, we got.
All right, are there any citizens' comments? Joe, thank you for the correspondence, though. I will ask Tracy about that. And
Yep.
Nice work on the budget, Mr. Chairman.
it was all Delia.
Huh.
I
Nice
just
work on the budget.
Increase the 10%. Agenda item XV, I think that's 15, more official. Move to adjourn by Tim Young. Do I have a second? Second. I heard it twice. Second by David Moore. Adjourn. There any discussion? There you go. All in favor? Opposed? Have a meeting. I have 9:40. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Extra blood pressure pills today.